From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big morning, a big early morning on Mornings LALATE as the $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill passed. On Saturday night, quietly, the House Budget Committee passed your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. It passed the $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill. This means that if they sent to the House vote today, it would pass in a blink of an eye. But why is it not being passed so quickly? Because Nancy Pelosi is co-negotiating with the Senate, she tells viewers on Saturday night in a news statement. The negotiations will continue today, but the vote could be today on the $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill. The infrastructure bipartisan vote is today as well. I'll explain the details of this as well. But now with the $3.5 trillion pass, that means that the clusters that we've been going over on this channel are in there. Cluster number one, checks for seniors, workers, also for vehicles, cars. Cluster number two, items to repair the home and education and money for children, money for seniors. Cluster number three, prescription medication. They got in there. The recon has been passed. It's a breaking news if you didn't hear it on Sunday, because I told you this last weekend was going to be a lot of breaking news. Also breaking news is that there's an additional $13 billion coming out to cities, counties, and states for third stimulus for rent. And then the big surprise is that this stimulus is heating up, and so is the debt ceiling limit. But yes, it's been passed. The $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill passed by the Budget Committee of the House, which is ostensibly the House. That means that the major step we were looking for has happened. What does this mean for us and those monthly stimulus checks that the Democrats represent as $1,000 a month after the first month of running for 6 months? I have all the world exclusive, all the big details, all the breaking news as a big early mornings LA starts right now. I hope you're having a beautiful morning, and thank you for joining me on an early morning's broadcast. We went into last weekend with no less than 1,000 viewers of this channel being told by House and Senate Democrats that they're inserting a monthly stimulus check provision. The negotiations were near complete on the inclusion of that stimulus check provision, that it would run monthly checks out the door. That those checks then were told to us by Pelosi, Omar, Jalapal, and AOC's offices of $1,000 a month after the first month of 2000 for running for 6 months. Well, today we will likely see if they got it done, because the first 2,400 pages of what is going to be called the America Build Back Better Plan bill will be potentially released. It's 2,400 pages, and I have all the details in this recording. It passed on the House subcommittee on Saturday night. That means that if the House was to call for a vote today, it would be passed in a second. But why is it not necessarily being called that quickly? I'll go over all the incredible details. We'll be going over cluster number 2 and cluster number 3 checks that all got in there, and what this means for you. Lots of money and lots of it. The Purple Hawks are going to do really, really well. And then we'll cut to third stimulus, which has additional $13 billion, back over to fifth stimulus, and then we'll go over the voting process, what's happening today, and what could happen tomorrow, what's happening this week, as Nancy Pelosi calls this week a week of intensity, and we'll be going over the debt ceiling limit, so subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record for a reason. This channel literally breaks the news as soon as it happens and delivers the world exclusives only here. These news elements happened on a Saturday night. Broadcast channels closed. Business channels closed. They didn't have the capability. They never had the capability to run 20 hours of programming a day. Only on this channel, only place you're going to see these breaking details and world exclusives are LA. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this family. Hit that like button and consider becoming a member. Let's go over the details starting right now. Late on a Saturday night, literally from their cars, from their kitchen counters, tops, and from their garden chairs, House Democrat and House Republicans called in remotely to vote on a $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill in the Budget Subcommittee of the House. That's how they voted, and that's how they passed it. The Democrats passed it, the Republicans, of course, voting against it. And that means that it's a ceremonial step to the House floor thereafter. The House floor, if they were to call it for a vote 10 minutes later, would rubber stamp it in a blink of an eye. Because the House floor would do exactly what the House Budget Committee did it. Exactly what I've been reporting over the last 3 months happened. Number one, I have been reporting exclusively that the House would be writing the legislation. They did. I have been reporting it was in the thousands of pages. It is. It's 2,400 pages. I have been reporting that the House subcommittee would vote first. They did. I have been reporting that the House before the Senate would vote on the recon. It is. All those things happened. But the one question we're looking for is whether they got that MSC stimulus check in there. Those Democratic House members, Democratic senators have told no less than 1,000 viewers that they're putting it in there, monthly stimulus checks. And by the weekend, Pelosi's office told us no less than a handful of viewers, dozen viewers, that it's $1,000 a month after the first month of $2,000 running 6 months. That Pelosi looked for a larger amount as a lead negotiator, apparently, tried to get $1,400 to $2,000 a month, couldn't get it, and tried to do 12 months, couldn't get that as well. By the end of the week, we were told that AOC Omar Jalapal were writing the legislation. And that makes sense because by Saturday night, the whole bill, which comprised 12 different components, was done, called for a vote, and passed in that House subcommittee. Now, we're going to go over more about those MSE checks. We're going to go over more about the voting process, what's coming up today and tomorrow. It's coming up later in this video. This is a major breaking news, massive recording, so stay to the very end. Some of yesterday's recordings were nearly 49 minutes long because there is so much happening. I want you to know everything that's happening. All right, let's cut to first cluster. The first 645 pages released 2 weeks ago, they got in there. They're now law. It's important to understand that this recon, everything that these checks in there, are not COVID related. You just have to be alive. You just have to be alive, which is more than some senators. But you just have to be alive, and the eligibility just kicks in after that. Let's go over that first 645 pages of what is now a 2,400-page bill that were released about 2 weeks ago. Those got in there. Hazard pay seniors, children, $51,000 of MSE with a new twist, repairs of the home, and then bikes, cars, and trucks. Hazard pay, huge. This channel is the biggest place of advocacy for hazard pay on the planet, with no less than 500 videos every single day, every hour, every week, every month for several months through all of 2020 and early 2021. They got it in there. Modifying the EIC, the Earned Income Tax Credit, an old tax code, broaden the eligibility so more essential workers qualify, and then expanding the money. Every year that you work as an essential worker, you will qualify for this money. It's huge. Then Representative Richard Neal, you can thank for this one. Up to $4,000 a year to care for an elderly person at home. This is huge if you're a care provider. Up to $4,000 to care for that elderly person. And on the flip side, if it's a young child, up to $4,000 as well. College students got 3 items. Grants directly to the university, some grants directly to them, and the Pell's grant made tax-free. If you own a low-income home or you want to buy a home in a low-income community, federal government will give you money to repair it. It's huge. Low-income homes in low-income communities get new grants for repairs. Wow. That's not the only home repair. Coming up is there's another one. And then the monthly stimulus check for the children, the CTC. A huge twist, and this twist is an emotional twist for me because I thought it's just wonderful, but also shows you how things get changed at literally the last second. The CTC, the Child Tax Credit, you've known about since earlier this year. It was under third stimulus, but now it's lifetime. If you have a child and you're in a low-income family household, you'll get up to $300 a month every month that child is in a low-income family household. Let's go over the calculations. Let's say if the child is just born, you get up to $300 a month, every year for up to 18 years, which is $51,000. It's lifetime now. Now, what was the big shocker that they got in at the 11th hour? At the 11th hour, they got in an absolutely mind-blowing provision that shows they really do care about people with incredible specificity. They realize that some children in this country have lost their parents, lost their mom, lost their dad, lost their grandparents, have no blood relatives left, but are cared and raised by someone they are not blood relative that they do not share common blood with. They're not a blood relative. It may just be a neighbor that has now become the guardian of someone to raise that child. Guess what? Under third stimulus, that guardian got zippo, got nothing. And somehow these legislators got wind of the air and fixed it. So now if the person raising the child is not a blood relative because, let's say, the parents have passed and there's no relatives left, that guardian will still get paid for that child. Incredible money. Then money for bikes, cars, vehicles as well. Yes, if you want to buy something electric and it's U.S. auto manufacturer, you get it. 15% for the purchase price of a new electric bike. Then purchase price for the new purchase of a new electric vehicle up to $6,500 personal use, a little bit more for business use, and a little bit more for an electric truck. Wow. Cluster number 2 and cluster number 3's checks are coming up. Their deliciousness up to $1,700 a week. I'm going to go over those in just a second. But first, let's cut over to third stimulus for just a detour. $13 billion is coming out to your cities, counties, and states for rent, utilities, and mortgage assistance as an additional cash infusion from third stimulus. Treasury made the huge announcement now 2 weeks ago. I want you to get this money. I'm going to go over it later in this video, so stay to the very end. Treasury says it's happy to provide the state and local this additional sums of money for people in need of rental assistance. More about that later. Let's cut back over to the second cluster, and boy, it got in there. Yes, everything got in there. The second cluster starts with family leave and medical leave. Family leave, your wife is pregnant. Medical leave, your child broke his leg. How much does it pay? A fortune. Under third stimulus is going to pay up to $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. Split in half, $35,000 a year. That's $800 a week. Split in half again, $15,000 annual salary. $400 a week. Yes, it's great. Then the cluster of checks coming right after, the other checks in the second cluster right after that, really big. They have checks for childcare programs, checks for expansion of the household tax credit, checks for seniors like dental, vision, hearing, lowering medical eligibility age, more about that in the third cluster. And then one I like, weatherizing the home. Especially needed if Purple Hawks are on the roof, and it's Fox News's roof. Yeah, you can do the visual. Weatherizing your home, that is if that home is in a hurricane area, tornado area, flood zone, things like that. Then more checks for education. Free pre-kindergarten. Then tuition-free community college. Very well needed because there's a very popular class being offered, and the popularity is spreading across the country. It's called, what the hell is LATE saying? I don't understand him. 101. It's for people who think people in Los Angeles talk a foreign language. We have a strange dialect. It's all yo. Yo. And we talk through scarves. So it's a very strange dialect. And we talk like cows. I don't know where that happened from. But that dialect now, you can take a class on it, and it'll be totally free. And by the end of the class, end of the session, you will be able to talk like a cow too. Then there's green energy checks as well. Well, where is Congress? What is Congress doing, and when are they doing it? Over the last 2 weeks, that was actually a hilarious insert right here because, ironically, everything I said happened. I have been telling viewers for 3 months that the House and Senate Democrats were negotiating in Tucson to make sure they got everything done. That's what Nancy Pelosi said in her press release Saturday night, that while they have now passed the recon out of the House Budget Committee and the House would be done, she says we still have negotiations to continue with the Senate, meaning she's still talking to the Senate, make sure everything is fine with them. Number 2, I had told you that the House Democrats would be drafting the legislation. They did. The 2,400-page bill, or to-be bill, is called the Build Back Better American Plan. Number 3, I told you that the House would vote first. I said this was a big exclusive I only going to hear on this channel, and it now has happened. The House will be voting first on the recon, and it will be voting this week. Number 4, that you would never see these negotiations on TV, on broadcast media, and they never really happened. There was some YouTube videos where the House Ways and Means Committee actually YouTubed themselves sitting at tables and flipping through papers. Really exciting. But other than that, no, these negotiations last night, Saturday night, not on TV. And the fact that it was passed, not on TV. You're not on C-SPAN. You're not going to see this. And it was not apparent. So what comes next? I'm going to go over the voting process late in this video. But let's cut to cluster number 3 checks. They got in there as well. These are huge checks, and these are checks for seniors and workers. Boy, and there's $107 billion exclusive in this cluster. Let's get to it. Free school meals for all checks, tax break checks, cheaper prescription medication checks, farmers checks, checks for workers, checks for independent contractors, checks for seniors, checks for vision, checks for dental, checks for hearing care, checks for low eligibility age. One of the things I have to always say, and I keep on forgetting to say it, is that when this becomes law, obviously that's what this channel is going to be about. Getting you each of these checks, going through each check, making videos about the checks. That's where this channel is obviously going. The big surprise is that $107 billion world exclusive was unearthed by this channel a week ago. 2 weeks ago, the Senate parliamentarian ruled one of the provisions of cluster number 3 can't go there. And it's one where money was going to go to judiciary. Yeah, it doesn't concern you. It concerns judiciary. She said, no, that money can't go there. So they had to take the money and allocate it to somewhere else. I looked up on my notes how much that money is. It's $107 billion. Yeah, so they had to reallocate that money back to you. There's 2 clusters, or 2 items of checks in this 3rd cluster, which I particularly like, and the president has said he likes. I like them because they're automatic. The first one is cheaper prescription medication. Lets you have to go to a pharmacy today and fill a prescription up. You take 2 $20 bills, for example, out of your wallet to pay. This becomes law shortly thereafter. Then when you go back to refill, you may only have to take out 1 $20 bill to pay for the prescription. Immediately, a savings of a $20 bill in your wallet. Then, the next one is free internet. The federal government's going to give fortunes to cities, counties, and states that they can offer free internet to you across the country. Red states, blue states, everywhere. And that free internet company, Sirloin is looking to have it launched called T-Mobile. What is the username and password that the Wi-Fi connection will be in Los Angeles? In Los Angeles, the Wi-Fi username will be Blaine66, and the password will be Scarf101. More about that later. But coming up in the second half of this video, we'll be going over back to that IRS MSC, what Democrats represent they're going to do for you, and what's happening with that. We'll be cutting to 3rd stimulus and the big money, the cash infusion coming out of $13 billion to cities, counties, and states, and the nonprofits that are paying money in less than 24 hours. I'm going to show you how to get this big money as well. And then we'll be cutting over to 5th stimulus, then the debt ceiling limit, and then the voting process. I'll be going over what the Democrats have said about the voting process today, because there is a vote happening today, what I predict may happen, and what I predict may happen tomorrow. There's a lot coming up. It's a monolith. It's a massive early mornings broadcast because the toast is toast and the butter is buttering, and you're going to need a double shot of coffee because the second half is supersized. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now on Early Mornings LA, direct from Santa Monica, California, as your $3.5 trillion recon has passed. It passed in the House subcommittee on Saturday night. What does this mean for you? What does it mean when those MSCs, the Democratic members, represented they're doing it, that the negotiations were near complete going in the weekend, that there would be monthly stimulus checks, $1,000 a month after the first month of $2,000. Did they get it done? We'll go over all the details. We'll go over what advocacy looks like, why you need to advocate down to the finish line, because this is not the finish line just yet. Then we'll be cutting back to the voting process. I'll give you my prediction about which one votes first, which one votes second, and which one votes potentially third. Oh boy, that's surprising. Then we cut over to fifth stimulus, and then the debt ceiling limit. It's a big Early Mornings broadcast. It's a supersized one, so get a double shot of espresso ready, because we got a lot coming up. And this is Early Mornings LA. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. There's a reason. This broke on a Saturday night. I had it by Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I had it less than 6 hours later. The only place on the planet, no broadcast channel was reporting this, no YouTube channel was reporting this. No one reports anything when it happens, on the minute, on the hour, like LA. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record, where you see details and comprehensive coverage of all the money, and I show you how to get this money. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member so that you learn how to get all these sums of money. Let's cut to the big surprise as an additional $13 billion sent out by this person. Janet Yellen, 2 weeks ago, sent out an additional $13 billion to city, counties, and states for rent, utilities, and mortgage assistance, and it was a big shocker. Everywhere, red, blue, rich and poor, city, counties, and states are getting it. Get a pen, paper, cell phone ready. I'm going to show you how to get this big sum of money. We're going to start first with the rent, which has gone up 200%. The utilities, which has gone up 300%, and the SNAP that's gone up 500% for viewers of this channel in less than a month. When we were doing rent, Purple Hawks of this channel a month ago were getting this. Now they've gone from $20,000 to nearly $40,000 in a month. Then when we turn to this number, we have Mark's brother-in-law. Remember Mark, $51,000 Mark? This is Mark. His brother-in-law now got $15,000 for utilities, a 300% increase. When we talk about SNAP, his brother-in-law got $21,000, a 400% increase. So get that pen, paper ready, cell phone. I'm going to show you big details starting right now. We get some rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, and more. I'm going to show you 6 places to reach out to. Reach out to all 6. They have different eligibility, different pots of money, and also list the keywords and also the nonprofits. All right, here you go. You're going to reach out to your city hall, your city house authority, your county hall, your county house authority, your state hall, and your state house authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. Let's say those 6 places again. City hall, city house authority, county hall, county housing authority, state hall, and state housing authority. There you go. Now, if you're a member of this channel, you do receive nightly at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday, a newsletter, the LALATE newsletter. In there, I now have the link to the press release from Treasury, from Janet Yellen, explaining the $13 billion. I want you to read that before you call up asking for the rent. Because if you got in the money before, I want you to get more money. If you tried to get the money before, they said they're out of the money, then I want you to know what it is when you call up and say, hi, I want to get on a waiting list. Don't have a waiting list? Can I call you back tomorrow when you get the money? If they don't have it. Because once they have it, it's going to be first come, first serve, and the money won't be there forever. It's not an enormous amount of money, even though it's a good amount of money. All right, utilities. I want you to reach out to all your different utility companies you have. You have 5, reach out to all 5. Utility assistance because of COVID. And then finally, the nonprofits. What a big success story. The nonprofits are doing great things. One viewer wants you to know that St. Vincent de Paul paid that viewer's rent in 24 hours after applying. Another viewer had the same turnaround time with United Way. Let's go over the 5 nonprofits. United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, and St. Vincent de Paul. Why are the nonprofits so important? Because you may have gotten money from your city, county, and state, and they're out of it. You could still go get money from the nonprofits if you're eligible. Number 2, nonprofits have different eligibility. They don't do the things the same way as the federal government. They also have different pots of money. They sometimes put homeless people into shelters. They pay for clothing. They sometimes give you appliances. One viewer got a new refrigerator, a new furnace, and her window fix. Here are the 5 nonprofits again. United Way, Salvation Army, Catholic Charities, Community Action, and St. Vincent de Paul. They're also featured in the newsletter. Consider becoming a member today. Let's go over the last two pots of money. The refund check from the state due to overpayment of unemployment benefits. Average payment is $2,000 to $5,000. Reach out to your state for the tracking information. And finally, the refund check for the people who pay taxes on 2021's unemployment, on the 2020 unemployment benefits you receive. That refund check from IRS is about $1,200 to $2,000. Margaret got it, Michael got it. Reach out to, go to irs.gov and do a transcript search. 70% of the time it will work. And finally, if you've gotten any of these sums of money from this channel, post in the live chat right now. Rent, utilities, food, like Lingland, Gail, Cod, and Michael. Any of these monies, because when you do, you inspire other people. Finally, if you haven't become a member, consider becoming a member today. Members are delivered from me to them. A newsletter that goes out Monday through Friday at about 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. From the YouTube page and the LATE Alert page that has all the money under first, second, and third stimulus. Now revamped, including the nonprofits and the Treasury statement. It's important to understand that people are getting big sums of money from this channel. Johnny, 80,000. Margaret, 105,000. Lorraine, 105,000. Johnny's family members, 100,000. Mark's friends, 50, 40, 30,000. People are getting big sums of money. I want you to get these big sums of money. And I want you to make a promise to yourself. If you've gotten money already from this channel, I don't care how much it is, $100 or 20,000. I want you to get money further into the future. I want you to go into 2021 as far as you can. I'll have more about that later in this video. But boy, is considered becoming a member. But boy, the excitement's heating up. And with that, we go into the final 15 minutes of this video, starting right now with the $3.5 trillion reconciliation budget bill passed on a Saturday night by the Critical Budget Subcommittee. What happened? This is what happened. I had told you that the first vote, remember the 6 steps we used to do on this channel? I explained recom substantive, how they vote, this step. I always told you that I thought it was going to be first the House side. I also told you the House subcommittee. Well, that's what happened on Saturday night. Literally from their cars, literally remotely, from all strange walks of life, they called in House Republicans and House Democrats to vote in favor or vote against the $3.5 trillion recon in the House Budget Committee, and they passed it. This is huge because everything they had put in there got in there. Republicans, of course, tried to take things out, and did not happen. Why is this big? Because normally in any day, I would say, well, they want to put it on the House floor for a vote. It'll pass in 10 seconds because the House floor is going to do whatever the House Budget Committee did. They'll just give a ceremonial rubber stamp and approve it in a second. But Nancy Pelosi said shortly after the vote on Saturday night that she's still negotiating with the Senate, and this week will be a very intense week with a lot of things happening. Now, let's go over to that reconciliation IRS MSC check. Over the last 3 weeks, over 1,000 viewers have been told by House Democrats and Senate Democrats that there's an MSC check in there. Going into the weekend, over a dozen viewers were told by Pelosi, AOC, Omar, and Jalapal's office that they were writing the provision. The negotiations were near complete. It was $1,000 a month after the first month of $2,000 to run for 6 months. But we still got to see the bill. And even if it's in there, we can't sit back and feel comfortable because we're not over the finish line. This is not the finish line. We started this 8 weeks ago when I said pick up the phone and advocate, because this is what we did. We got a stimulus check in the continuing resolution. I said we got to do it again, and we did do it. I said pick up the phone and call, and WR did. He picked up the phone and called Senator Chris Coons, Democrat, Delaware, Joe Biden's oldest confidant, advocate for a stimulus check. And Coons' office said yes, he's putting it in there. Monthly stimulus check, world exclusive. But we still had to push more, and it changed 3 weeks ago. When I told viewers at the time that the House would be writing the legislation, they are. The House Budget Committee would be the one writing it, they did, and it's all 2,400 pages. That the House would vote first, they did, and that Bernie Sanders got you the $3.5 trillion price tag, which he said he had. I said Bernie Sanders is very important to this equation. As the budget chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, not the House one, he said 3 weeks ago, unlike prior budget chairman, I like to get out amongst the people when writing a budget bill. I said, if you listen to that, that means he likes to hear you advocate to him what he wants, what you want included. I said, pick up the phone and advocate to Bernie Sanders. He's asking you to call. And you did. Brother Joshua did. Lynn, Glenn, and Gail did. Advocated for viewers this channel. Let's see what advocacy for stimulus looks like. The face of it has gotten so impressive in the last 3 weeks that I want to show you these incredible comments that came in before the weekend. Margaret says that I was on the phone and in such an intense conversation with the staffer that both of us broke down and cried. Another viewer said, I picked up the phone and I explained, I lost my husband during the pandemic. I had 10 surgeries during the pandemic. I'm raising 2 teenage daughters on just an SSI-DI check during the pandemic. It ain't enough. I need a monthly stimulus check. That's advocacy. I need it. My family needs it. My community needs it. My church needs it. And that's what Brother Joshua did for us, for himself, and for his family and his church. When he called Bernie Sanders' office 3 weeks ago, Brother Joshua was a 2020 volunteer to the community page, helped thousands of people get money for rent and utilities. He advocated. And Sanders' office told Brother Joshua 3 weeks ago, yes, Sanders will be doing a monthly stimulus check, $1,000 of $1,300, $1,400, 3 to 6 months, but needs to hear other people ensure that they have Sanders back. I said, pick up the phone and call Bernie Sanders. I said, in fact, call other Democratic senators' office to make sure they're pushing, because we had Coons and Sanders so far. I want you to get more. And the floodgate started at that point 3 weeks ago. As Donnie and other people started opening that floodgate, it started with this from Donnie that says, I picked up the phone and I advocated. I said, I need lots of, this one's Donnie. Here, over here, no one more over is Donnie. That's Tina. Well, Donnie's somewhere. Sorry, Donnie. You're just, here's Donnie. Here's Donnie. Donnie said, I need it. My city needs it. My family needs it. We all need it. And we are hurting. And that advocacy resulted in Sanders' office telling Donnie, there's a monthly stimulus check in there. Hurricane Tina picking up the phone and calling the Sanders' office, advocating for a stimulus check, and Sanders' office saying, yes, it's in there. Carolyn calling up Sanders' office and advocating and saying, yes, and Sanders' office saying, yes, it's in there. Yaya calling up Ron Wyden's office and Ron Wyden's office saying, yes, the stimulus check MSE is in there. There's Carolyn's statement saying people losing their homes and everything across the board. And Sanders' office saying, yes, they're putting a stimulus check in there. Will took us to another level. Will showed us, don't call one office, call multiple offices. He called 3 in one day. He called Liz Warren. He called Chuck Schumer. He called Bernie Sanders. All 3 separate offices, staffs said they are putting a monthly stimulus check in there. And Liz Warren actually said $1,400 to $2,000, 6 months to 12 months, her staff. Interestingly, that is consistent with Pelosi's statement going into the weekend. I'll have that in a second. Lorica had the big bombshell for us 2 weeks ago, as Bob Casey's office told Lorica that he is inserting a monthly stimulus check provision in there, and the negotiations are near complete. But a week ago, last Friday, not this Friday, but the Friday before that, 2 Fridays ago, I said, okay, we got our senators saying they're doing it. We have Sanders, Warren, Schumer, Casey, Coons saying they're inserting a monthly stimulus check in there. But go over to the House and advocate with the House. Ironically, we got lucky. It was a big element of luck. What happened? I said advocate to AOC, Jalapal, Pelosi, Omar. I mentioned their names because they had written before they wanted to insert a stimulus check, or they had written the stimulus check MSE provision, the House bill before. Well, unbeknownst to any of us, Pelosi was the lead negotiator for the inclusion of a stimulus check provision. That AOC and Omar and Jalapal were actually the people writing up the language of it. Wow. And that started 2 weeks ago when Paul picked up the phone and called AOC's office, and AOC's office confirming to Paul, yes, they're inserting a monthly stimulus check provision, $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, 6 to 12 months at the time. Then Janice getting confirmation from Jayalapal's office, yes, monthly stimulus check is in there. And Omar's office confirming the same to Janice as well. By that point, we had the senators, Coons, Sanders, Warren, Schumer, Casey, Wyden telling the viewers this channel, it's in there, monthly stimulus check. We had AOC Jayalapal giving us the confirmation as well. But it took us to another level when Mark revealed to us a week ago today that he had called Pelosi's office, and Pelosi's office said negotiations are near complete. $1,000 a month after the first month of $2,000, 6 to 12 months. By the time we had gone into the late part of last week, viewers were being told over and over again by Pelosi, AOC, Omar, and Jayalapal's office that the negotiations were near complete, that even Dragon was told that there is monthly stimulus checks in there from Pelosi's office, and that the provision is $1,000 a month after the first month of $2,000 running for 6 months. Whether it was Paul or Dragon or other viewers who called Pelosi or AOC or Omar or Janice, they got the same numbers every conversation. Going into the weekend, we were told that they were near complete. Well, clearly they were near complete because by Saturday night, the whole bill was already written. And that whole bill called for a vote, and that vote passed in the subcommittee of the House. Now, what's important to understand is that advocacy doesn't stop here. 2,400-page bill, or what will be a bill, can still get modified. No time to stress or celebrate, because when the bill is debuted, you need to advocate. Before the bill is debuted, you need to advocate. When the vote on the House floor happens, you need to advocate. When it lands in the Senate, you need to advocate, because we've seen over the last few days, for example, the CTC credit changed, inheritance tax taken out, other taxes taken out. They can take things in, they can take things out. As Pelosi specifically said, I'm not calling for a quick vote on the House floor. I can get approved in 10 seconds on the House floor, is because I'm still negotiating with the senators. This is why my message is a little bit different today than it was on Saturday. On Saturday, I said call on Monday, AOC, Jalapal, Pelosi, and Omar to advocate again for that monthly stimulus check, saying why you need it, why your family needs it, why your community needs it. But because Pelosi is saying I'm still leaning on the Senate Democrats to make sure everything is fine with them, also call the Senate Democrats, because they are still part of the path. A recon passed on the House section, but the lead person, Pelosi, still hearing from Senate Democrats what's going on. So call those Senate Democrats as well. Let's go over to the voting, the fifth stimulus, the debt ceiling limit, and what you need to know. The voting. This is a little bit of prediction, a little bit of my insight, my guesstimate, and a little bit of fact, all mixed up into one. Today, Monday, the House will call a vote on the bipartisan, the infrastructure, the roads and bridges. Why? Because Nancy Pelosi made a deal with the prom creator. You remember that guy? That short guy from New York or New Jersey. I forgot his name. I don't even remember. Which to remember his name. Made a deal with him several weeks ago that if he backed off, she would call a vote on the roads and bridges today. Now, Nancy Pelosi is the person who determines when things are called for a vote. She did not promise what hour of the day the vote occurs. You know what I'm thinking. Yeah. So there's three possibilities, I think, of what's going on potentially for the voting today, tomorrow, and this week. Number one, on Friday, Jalapal told News that when the infrastructure is called for a vote on Monday, roads and bridges, it's going to fail. The roads and bridges will fail. She says we do not have enough votes, Democrats who are going to vote in favor of it. Too many Democrats are voting against it. This is not the first time we heard this. We heard this weeks ago, where she said the progressives will vote against the roads and bridges if they try to just shove roads and bridges down people's throats. And that's what the progressives will do. Now, what is my sense of the situation? I think there's really two things potentially going to happen, and I think it's the second one that's going to happen. The first potential one is that the roads and bridges does get called for a vote on Monday, but earlier, before that, the recon is called for a vote. Yeah, I think that's possible. I think Pelosi, didn't promise which one calls, what day, hour of the day it's happening. So it's very possible she can call the recon for a vote today before she calls a vote on the bipartisan. Because remember, the recon is done. She could have called it for a vote on Saturday. She could call a vote on Sunday, order them in session. But she was waiting to hear back from the Senate. The second item is more possible, and I think this is the one that's going to happen. This is a new insight I have on early mornings right now. I think they are going to call the roads and bridges for a vote first, the roads and bridges, and they're going to vote it down. They're going to kill it. They're going to vote it down. The Democrats are going to vote it down. Progressives are going to vote it down. And they're going to say, see, told you so. And then they're going to call the recon for a vote, maybe the same day, maybe on Tuesday, the recon for a vote. And then the recon is going to pass. Then they're going to come back and say, okay, so we're going to use sort of this as an ammunition to sort of say, okay, what do you want to do about the roads and bridges? Maybe we'll approve your roads and bridges if you treat us correctly. If I was them, what I would do is I would absolutely do it exactly that way and then hold the roads and bridges up and say, hey, either you do the things I want to do it or I'm the roads and bridges will never be passed. We already killed it once. We're not going to call for a vote again. I only promised to call for a vote for you once. It didn't pass. So I'm not going to call for a vote again. But I will call for a vote and pass it if you do these other things for me. That's how I would do it. And I have a feeling that's how they're going to do it as well. All right, now let's turn to the debt ceiling limit. The debt ceiling limit is working in everyone's benefit, and specifically Pelosi's benefit. We now see since Saturday. Remember, the debt ceiling limit has nothing to do with the recon, nothing to do with the infrastructure. The only thing it has to do with is that when people are doing several things and they're on the phone with that same person about something else, they can get more things done quicker together. And they can say, well, I'll give you this thing if you don't bother me about that thing. And we saw this under CR for stimulus in 2020, in December 2020. Remember when we put the stimulus check in the CR and we literally blinked and it was done? I remember I was on Saturday, I was on the beach, and I was talking about Pat Toomey with you live on Instagram. And then Sunday was Mitt Romney, and Monday was like gone. And like, bam, it was done. Same thing here. I think there's a sense that you want to be bipartisan on one thing, then you're bipartisan on everything else. Let's get the debt ceiling limit done, and we'll call the vote on your roads and bridges at the right time, and you won't bother our recon. I think there's sort of that element and that rapidness of the whole situation. You all know, if you've been watching this channel every day for the last few months, I did have a graphic a few months ago that said they anticipate to get this all done by September 30th. That, and then there was a big talk about September 27th as a big date. I do believe that's really what it's at issue. I think they can get literally mountains moved this week. Pelosi's comment on Saturday was, get ready for this week. She said, this week is a week like no other. The next few days will be a time of intensity. I don't think she's ever used those words before on this channel. So it will be a time of intensity. Let's go over the debt ceiling limit. First, your money, not a worry whatsoever. If you're on Social Security, if you're on benefits, if you're an active service member, if you're an employee of the federal government or an agency, your check is arriving on time this month in September. Your check the first week of October is arriving on time as well. The debt ceiling limit is often missed. It was missed last year when this channel was around. It's routinely missed. It's missed several times a year, a day, a few days, a week, 2 weeks. Very, very common. Very, very common. Not any cause for concern with you and your checks. Only if this goes on into December for 2 months, which happens once in a generation, is a cause of concern. At the moment, no concern. So I want to make that clear to you. Number 2, the debt ceiling limit has nothing to do with your recon's money. The debt ceiling limit is to pay for existing laws, not for things that are currently in subcommittees and don't even have an HR on them as House of Representative bill yet, and only to pay for existing law. Finally, it doesn't really impair the working schedule, but you see how Pelosi's having to work for her for the working schedule. Fifth stimulus, raise your benefits up if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, and applies a new benchmark. The new benchmark's inflation. I'm saying it's going up a lot in December. I'm saying about 5%. Then removes the income cap, removes the asset cap, and removes the marriage penalty. Once your benefits go up, they never step down. So they step up an additional 5% because of December, then they never step down. They're likely to get this done by about November out to your pocket, potentially in December. This week will be a big week. Here's what you need to remember, because you've been very, very good all along. When the bill is debuted, maybe the 2,400-page Build Back Better bill, Build Back Better American bill is debuted, maybe everything is right in there. Maybe everything is wrong in there. Maybe everything is sort of right, but not right. You need to advocate before we see the bill, after we see the bill, before the House votes, after the House votes, before the Senate votes. You have to keep on advocating down to the final moment at which the president signs anything. Because if you've been with this channel since day one, you see how legislators take things out, add things in. In the last week, they took out 2 things about taxes. They added in that new provision about the CTC for a guardian that takes care of a child. They're constantly making very big nuanced changes all over the board. So you have to advocate down the line. I want you to do 2 things for yourself today. I want you to write down phone numbers for AOC, Jalapal, Pelosi, and Omar, and also do it for the senators like Edwards, Elizabeth Warren, Coons, Casey, Schumer, Sanders. I want you to advocate. Also, I want you to reach out to those nonprofits. I want you to get as much money as you can into the future. It's important to understand that we are not in the thick of winter yet. We're still in early fall. The nonprofits report, viewers are telling me that the nonprofits are not reporting a lot of phone calls. It's good. This is the time for you to get money. Get money as far as you can in the future into 2021 for rent, utilities, and mortgage assistance. If you got money as before, get more money. Take it out as far as you can. Join me throughout today with big shows. I'm back with you at 9 a.m. live on air with Mornings LA. I'll have the latest details on that. The situation is very fluid and changing by the second. Mornings Countdown comes up next at 7 a.m. Overnight's Crypto is currently playing on this channel. Then I'm back with you with Mornings Countdown, Mornings Crypto at 10 a.m., noontime at 11 a.m., and then shows at 1, 3, 5 with afternoons, and evenings, and then we go into our late night programming. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member because the toast is toast and the butter is buttery and the coffee is brewing. I'm here, you're here. The electric surfboard, not so much. But remember the password. It's Scarf 101. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.